Jack Johnson's unyielding spirit forged a legacy that still resonates today. His improbable rise from poverty to boxing immortality is a testament to his unwavering resolve. Witness the unforgettable saga of a man who dared to defy an era. Born on March 31, 1878, in Galveston, Texas, Jack Johnson entered the world amidst the lingering shadows of the Civil War and the burgeoning tensions of the Jim Crow era. His parents, Henry and Tina Johnson, were former slaves who had managed to eke out a modest living in the post-bellum South. Young Jack's early life was marked by hardship and struggle, as his family navigated the treacherous waters of racial segregation and economic marginalization. The Johnsons' home, a small shotgun house in Galveston's African-American community, was a hub of activity, with Tina working tirelessly as a domestic worker and Henry laboring as a janitor. As Jack grew older, he became increasingly aware of the harsh realities of racism in America. He witnessed firsthand the brutal treatment of African Americans at the hands of white authorities and the suffocating constraints imposed upon them by segregation. These early experiences would later inform Johnson's unwavering determination to challenge the status quo and forge his own path, both in and out of the boxing ring. The Galveston of Jack's youth was a city of stark contrasts, where the grand mansions of the wealthy elite stood in jarring juxtaposition to the cramped, poverty-stricken neighborhoods of the African-American community. Johnson's introduction to boxing came at a relatively young age, when he began working as a dock worker on the Galveston waterfront. It was here that he met a group of seasoned boxers who would become his mentors and friends, teaching him the fundamentals of the sport and instilling in him a deep passion for competition. One of these early influences was a grizzled old boxer named Walter Lewis, who recognized Jack's natural talent and encouraged him to hone his skills. Under Lewis's guidance, Johnson began to develop the unique fighting style that would eventually earn him the nickname the Galveston Giant. He saw how successful boxers could transcend the limitations imposed upon them by racism and poverty, earning respect and admiration from audiences across the racial divide. This realization sparked a fire within Johnson, driving him to dedicate himself fully to the pursuit of boxing excellence. The year 1897 marked a pivotal moment in Jack's early life, as he began competing in local boxing matches and quickly established himself as a formidable opponent. The historical context of Johnson's early years is crucial to understanding the complexities of his character and the challenges he would later face. The late 19th century was a time of great upheaval in America, with the country struggling to come to terms with the legacy of slavery and the ongoing violence of racial terrorism. The rise of Jim Crow laws and the solidification of segregation as a national policy created a hostile environment for African Americans, who were forced to navigate a labyrinthine system of restrictions and humiliations. It was against this backdrop that Jack Johnson began his ascent, driven by a fierce determination to succeed in a world that seemed determined to hold him back. As Jack Johnson's reputation grew, so did his ambition, driving him to seek out new challenges and opportunities beyond the confines of Galveston. In 1901, he traveled to Chicago, a city that would become a pivotal location in his career, where he began competing in higher-profile matches against more seasoned opponents. One such opponent was Joe Choinsky, a skilled boxer who would later become a close friend and mentor to Johnson. Their match on February 25, 1901 marked a significant turning point in Jack's career as he suffered a devastating knockout loss that would serve as a valuable learning experience. Undeterred by this setback, Johnson continued to hone his craft, studying the techniques of other boxers and developing his own unique style. He spent countless hours training, often under the guidance of veteran boxers who recognized his potential. One such mentor was Sam Fitzpatrick, a former boxer-turned-trainer, who helped Jack refine his defensive skills and develop a more strategic approach to fighting. The year 1903 proved to be a watershed moment in Johnson's career, as he faced off against Dennis Denver McMahon on January 20th, defeating him via knockout in the 5th round. This victory marked a significant milestone, as it earned Jack his first major title, the World-Colored Heavyweight Championship. The win also caught the attention of the boxing establishment, with many beginning to recognize Johnson as a force to be reckoned with in the sport. As Jack's star continued to rise, he found himself at the center of a maelstrom of controversy, much of it fueled by racist attitudes and biases that permeated the sport. Despite these challenges, Johnson persevered, using his charisma and cunning to navigate the complex web of alliances and rivalries that defined the boxing world. He formed close relationships with other African-American boxers, including Joe Gans and Sam McVeigh, who would become lifelong friends and allies. The summer of 1908 marked a defining moment in Johnson's career, as he traveled to Sydney, Australia to face off against Tommy Burns for the World Heavyweight Championship. The match, which took place on December 26th, was a resounding victory for Jack, as he defeated Burns via knockout in the 14th round, becoming the first African-American boxer to win the title. This historic victory sent shockwaves throughout the boxing world, with many hailing Johnson as a hero and a trailblazer. However, not everyone was pleased with Jack's newfound success. The racist attitudes that had long plagued the sport now boiled over into outright hostility, with many calling for a great white hope to emerge and defeat the new champion. This backlash would follow Johnson throughout his career, as he faced off against a series of opponents who were determined to dethrone him and restore white supremacy in the boxing world. Despite these challenges, Jack continued to reign supreme, defending his title against all comers and solidifying his reputation as one of the greatest boxers of all time. His most notable title defense came on July 4, 1910, when he faced off against James J. Jeffries, a former champion who had come out of retirement specifically to challenge Johnson. The match, which took place in Reno, Nevada, was a dominating performance by Jack, as he defeated Jeffries via knockout in the 15th round, cementing his status as the undisputed champion of the world. This victory marked the pinnacle of Johnson's career, as he basked in the adoration of his fans and the respect of his peers. However, it also marked the beginning of a period of intense scrutiny and controversy, as Jack's personal life and relationships came under increasing attack from the press and the public. The complexities of his relationships with women, including his marriages to Etta Duryea and Lucille Cameron, would become a source of fascination and outrage, fueling the racist stereotypes that had long dogged his career. As Jack Johnson's career reached its zenith, he found himself at the epicenter of a cultural maelstrom, with his personal life and relationships under intense scrutiny. The press and the public were fascinated by his marriages to Etta Duryea and Lucille Cameron, and the complexities of these relationships would become a defining aspect of his legacy. Johnson's relationship with Etta, in particular, was marked by tragedy as she struggled with depression and ultimately took her own life on September 11, 1912. This devastating event sent shockwaves through Jack's personal and professional life, and he would later credit his friends and contemporaries, including the boxer Joe Gans, with helping him navigate this dark period. Despite these personal challenges, Johnson continued to dominate the boxing world, defending his title against all comers and cementing his reputation as one of the greatest boxers of all time. On April 5, 1912, he faced off against Al Palzer in New York City, winning via unanimous decision and further solidifying his grip on the heavyweight championship. This victory was followed by a series of exhibition matches, including a bout against the young boxer Harry Wills on November 12, 1912, which Johnson won via knockout in the 6th round. Johnson's impact on the sport extended far beyond his own career, as he paved the way for future generations of African-American boxers. His influence can be seen in the careers of boxers like Joe Louis and Sugar Ray Robinson, who would go on to become legends in their own right. Johnson's legacy was also felt outside of the boxing world, as he became a cultural icon and a symbol of Black pride and resistance. He was a close friend and confidant of prominent figures such as W.E.B. Du Bois and Langston Hughes, and his influence can be seen in the work of these and other notable artists and intellectuals. One of the most significant events of Johnson's career took place on June 25, 1913, when he was arrested and charged with violating the Mann Act, a federal law that prohibited the transportation of women across state lines for immoral purposes. The charges were largely seen as a pretext for targeting Johnson, who had been openly dating white women and defying societal norms. The trial was a sensationalized media event, with many calling for Johnson's conviction and imprisonment. Despite the overwhelming odds against him, Jack maintained his innocence and continued to fight for his freedom. The Mann Act trial would become a defining moment in Johnson's career as he faced off against the full weight of the American justice system. The prosecution's case relied heavily on the testimony of Johnson's former girlfriend, Belle Schreiber, who claimed that he had transported her across state lines for illicit purposes. However, Johnson's defense team, led by the attorney Robert M. Franklin, argued that the charges were baseless and motivated by racism. The trial would ultimately end in conviction, with Johnson being sentenced to 1 year and 1 day in prison on June 4, 1913. As Johnson's prison sentence was handed down, he began to feel the weight of his conviction, both literally and figuratively. Despite his efforts to maintain a sense of dignity and defiance, the experience took a toll on his physical and mental health. After serving nearly a year of his sentence, Johnson was released from prison on July 9, 1914, having been granted an early release due to good behavior. However, his freedom was short-lived, as he soon found himself struggling to regain his foothold in the boxing world. Johnson's attempts to revive his career were met with resistance and hostility, as many promoters and fighters refused to work with him due to his conviction and the controversy surrounding his personal life. Despite these challenges, Johnson persevered, continuing to fight and perform in exhibition matches throughout the 1910s and 1920s. One notable example of his determination was his 1915 bout against the boxer, Sam McVeigh, which Johnson won via knockout in the 12th round. As the years went by, Johnson's legend began to grow, even as his physical abilities began to decline. He became a beloved figure in the African-American community, hailed as a hero and a symbol of resistance against racism and oppression. In 1920, Johnson opened a nightclub in Harlem, which quickly became a popular gathering spot for jazz musicians, writers, and other artists. The club, known as the Club de Luxe, featured performances by notable musicians such as Duke Ellington and Bessie Smith, and served as a hub for the vibrant cultural scene of the Harlem Renaissance. Johnson's relationship with the Harlem Renaissance was deeply significant, as he became a close friend and mentor to many of the movement's leading figures. He often hosted salons and gatherings at his club, where writers like Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston would come to discuss their work and share their ideas. Johnson's influence can be seen in the writing of these authors, who often incorporated themes of racial identity, social justice, and personal freedom into their work. In the 1930s, Johnson began to slow down, his body worn out from years of fighting and hard living. He continued to perform in exhibition matches, but with less frequency and intensity than before. In 1938, he was invited to attend the heavyweight championship bout between Joe Louis and Max Schmeling, where he was greeted as a hero by the crowd. This event marked a turning point in Johnson's life, as he began to receive recognition for his contributions to the sport of boxing and his role as a pioneer for African-American athletes. In 1945, Johnson was involved in a car accident in Raleigh, North Carolina, which left him with serious injuries. He died on June 10, 1946, at the age of 68, due to complications from his injuries. His funeral was attended by thousands of mourners, who came to pay their respects to the man who had once been the greatest boxer in the world. In the years following Johnson's death, his legacy began to grow, as historians and scholars began to re-examine his life and career. In 1954, Johnson was posthumously inducted into the Boxing Hall of Fame, a testament to his enduring impact on the sport. The 1960s and 1970s saw a resurgence of interest in Johnson's life, with the publication of several biographies and documentaries that helped to cement his status as a cultural icon. Today, Jack Johnson is remembered as a trailblazer and a pioneer, a man who defied convention and pushed the boundaries of what was possible for African Americans in sports and beyond. His legacy extends far beyond the boxing ring, inspiring generations of athletes, artists, and activists to challenge the status quo and fight for justice and equality. The fact that his story continues to captivate audiences around the world is a testament to the power of his spirit and the enduring impact of his life. His unwavering determination, unrelenting passion, and unapologetic individuality have inspired generations to challenge the status quo and fight for justice and equality. As Johnson himself once said, "I was a champion, and I will always be a champion," a testament to the enduring power of his spirit. That's all for today's Sports Bios. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I'm Howard Closewell, reminding you to keep shooting for your goals.